discussion. It is on battling the rise of cyber frauds. Our esteemed guest, Dr. Gulshan Rai, Distinguished Fellow at ORF and former National Cyber Security Coordinator, Government of India. And alongside Dr. Rai, we have Mr. Ram Rakapan, Head of Government and Public Affairs, India and South Asia Visa, to, to start with you, to carry forward the discussion. I would request Mr. Rakapan to start with the opening remarks for this session, and we look forward to a very exciting session today.
Thanks, Soham. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. So distinguished guests, it gives me immense pleasure that like-minded people are here to attend the first edition of Pursuit 2021, Combating Financial Frauds with Technology, and with this particular session, Battling the Rise of Cyber Frauds. Today, we are witnessing the creation of a new inflection points for India's as well as a global economy, be it e-commerce or many other entertainment areas. And cyberspace is seen as sort of a fifth dimension of warfare by certain international agencies. And India is certainly among the top 3 countries in the world facing cyber attacks, including ransomware attacks, etc. So to discuss the topic about how do we battle the cybersecurity and the frauds, I would especially like to thank Dr. Gulshan Roy for sparing his valuable time to address on the vital subject of battling the rise of cyber frauds. Um, while Dr. Gulshan Roy needs no introduction, let me also briefly discuss his biography. He was India's first national cybersecurity coordinator to the Government of India, and he has also held several responsibilities at the Ministry of IT and headed CERT India, STQC, and EarnNet under the Ministry of IT. He's also been a member of a high-powered committee which laid down the blueprint of India's Computer Emergency Response Team, which was set up in 2004. Dr. Roy played an important role in drafting of the Information Technology Act 2000, including its amendments in 2008, and thereafter the rules that was framed under the National Cybersecurity Policy in 2013. So Dr. Roy was member of the expert committee under Justice Sri Krishna. He has over 35 years of experience and has had a ringside view of India's cyber preparedness. May I now invite Dr. Roy to deliver the keynote address. The topic of the keynote today is battling the rise of cyber frauds. And post the keynote, I have a few questions that I'll post to Dr. Roy, and I'll request the audience to keep posting their questions in the chat window if you want to ask a question. Over to you, sir, for the keynote.
Thank you very much, Ram. Distinguished delegates, my panelists on the dais, and the members of the IMAI. I would like to express my gratitude to IMAI for giving me this opportunity to interact with you all through the virtual medium. Friends, digital transformation has become a buzz. But what digital transformation we are seeing today and what people say it will we see witness in the future is a mind-boggling kind of a scenario. I belong to an era where I have seen how the digital technology or the computer technology or so-called the IT technology has progressed there. And I've seen how the IBM 360 functioned there. We had to punch the card and run the program when I was studying and thereafter doing my PhD. We had seen how the corporate servers and the client servers and the mainframe system has functioned. We have seen how the www when it started, and we have seen when the search engine or the mobile system also started. But today we are talking about something different, is the animal, which nobody knows. How will it behave tomorrow? We can only talk about today and basically guess it there. Now the digital transformation is now is it has become important in particularly in the during the pandemic period also there. Everything is shut down, everything is locked down. We are able to communicate, we are able to discuss the thing, hold the meeting as if we are sitting physical, uh, and we are able to access the information to our all transaction, whatever is possible. Just imagine had this transformation not taken place, what would have been the scenario during this lockdown? Lockdown is a more biological system there. The virus is similar to the biological virus. But then how the digital transformation handle the biological transformation, that itself tells us the importance of the digital transformation. That's a positive aspect which we need to. So today we will discuss these aspects of the transformation, which we are seeing positive and is altogether differently. Today, India has more than 1 billion kind of devices, and I understand there are somewhere around 85 billion IoT devices are there. And if you talk about IoT devices, let me include 1 billion telephone devices also. So it's somewhere around 85 devices which can connect to the internet. That's what scenario is. Today we are facing it. Many of these systems are not connected, but they have the capability to connect it properly. Now, look at this scenario, how scenario it is becoming complex there. The complexity is there that these 85 billion IoT devices which we have today in India, what data it churns out, what software protocols it comes out, and how easy it becomes to analyze the data, how easy it becomes for anyone to interpret the data if he gets the data, That's one aspect is becoming very, very important, is a very, very crucial aspect from all point of view, for the business's point of view, from the intelligence point of view, and any other point of view. The devices churning out the data is coming out. Today, everyone says we are in a kind of a data economy. That's a scenario which we are there. But the scenario, this is scenario, if I explain how it has become a complex there, that all the devices are largely software controlled. Whenever we talk about the software, we talk about the next generation software, we're talking about a different kind of a software control there. So every device is becoming a more and more software. By changing the software, by tuning the software, we are trying to put a different features in the phone, control the different features and improve the performance or whatever factor we say. The all constructive aspect we are doing by virtue of software. We have seen how the systems have been virtualized, hardware, how the software has been virtualized. Today, with the introduction of 5G, we will see how the network will get virtualized. In fact, with the introduction of 5G, complete virtualization will happen. Entire world, we all know IT or cyber is a virtualized world, but everything is going to become a virtualized world. Please remember what Ram said in the introduction, is that the word says cyber is the fifth domain there. With this virtualization, how the fifth domain will become complex. You can partition, you can allocate resources there, you can change the resources there. All is a part of a software function there. That's what we are going to achieve there. Now, this digital transformation is different than the other digital transformation, what we talk about and what we discussed just now there. The component of the digital transformation are altogether different. We are not talking about WWW. We are not talking about the communication part, per se, what we talk about 2G, 3G, 4G there. We are talking about a next other components there, which includes the artificial intelligence, which includes the data analytics, which includes the big data, which includes the cyber security, and I will say why cyber security, which include the Internet of Things devices are there, and we include the virtual reality. I can tell you, yesterday night, I was talking to my son. He was trying to rent out a premises for himself, changing the premises in US there. He started sharing me completely a virtual augmented reality in the entire premises there. The architects are sharing the design of the entire building there. So these are the components of this current digital transformation. And whatever we talk about the devices, many of those components will get implemented or are getting implemented and will become much more implemented in time to come, in the future to come. Friends, we will never see, unlike the past, we will never see a single technology implemented. We will see convergence of technologies which will get implemented in any device, whether we talk about a smaller IoT device, talk about a Fitbit device, talk about your Apple device, a watch there. You talk about the ATM card to which RAM belongs to Visa. You talk about anything, small devices, larger devices. These number of components will get implemented. So we'll be seeing a convergence of technologies and from onward, now onward, and this convergence of technology is becoming day by day complex by virtue of the software. Software, different mobile search systems are there. When we have 85 billion kind of IoT devices, 1 billion kind of a telephone there, all telephones are with a different kind of a software, different makes there. The IoT devices are different, different protocols are there. So we are going to see complete heterogeneous kind of an environment there. And please remember, this scenario, all products today and service deploy the crypto activity there, the crypto, because of the larger budget of the security. Why security comes up? As I said, everything is becoming a software control. And what is software? Software is nothing but a list of instructions. Once you change the one instruction you change, you can make the device or any equipment to function in a manner different than what it was intended to. There. That's what the that's where the issue of security comes in, because these are all software control and things are becoming more and more software control. When you talk about the crypto, you talk about the different kind of a crypto, they're also introduced, implemented by virtue of the software. All operating software, even my washing machine has a software, Mixie has a software. There is no device today will come out which will not be network interface and which will not be software controlled there. Sensors there. Next generation communication technology, I've talked about 5G, it's all completely virtualized. And you talk about the clouds. Clouds today are different than what we have seen in the past. So this whole technology is a root or at the root of the digital ecosystem or the digital transformation, which we are talking about it there. Now, as I said, the software is a list of instructions. If I change one instruction, I can make the device to function different manner. This is the positive aspect because this is the way different functions are improved and the performance is improved, different functions are introduced there. But look at the dark side of that. If someone tried to manipulate or change the one instruction in a mischievous manner or a maliciously, what will happen? You can change the entire program. You can sit into that and try to control the activity. And that's why these cyber security issues are. Friends, I can tell you in 1989, in the end of the 89, there was a good furore in the parliament about the virus part because we were using MS-DOS on the operating system in the laptops there or in the desktop system there. If there was a desktop system, no laptop system. That MS-DOS 3.11 and then MS-DOS 4.0 comes up there. There was a virus, the whole parliament got rocked there, and there was a committee under my chairmanship. We started looking at the virus. But today, do we talk about that? We don't talk about the virus, and we will see next further. We don't talk about those kind of a virus which we have. We have a better system, better innovation, better product. At the same time, techniques are also becoming different than what we have seen in 1989 there, because no software, remember, comes up 100% secure. We all keep on getting the patches and updates in every electronic device or IT device there. That means that the every software or the device has some sort of a vulnerability or weakness in the system. Nothing is 100% secure. Even human life is not 100% secure, no matter whatever you do there. So there is nothing universally, nothing is 100% secure. So is the case with these IT systems or the cyber system or the hardware system there. But what result is today, as we have gone through, we have seen that today adversaries, because of the innovation in technology, the adversaries have also become quite educated. They're all white collar computer scientist people are there. Because if you go to the MTech or BTech program, they tell you how to prepare I mean, they in some courses they tell you how to prepare the malwares also. You may not call a malware, you may say for different purposes, bots today capturing the information by bots. AI is a bot there. Now they give you there's a project there. So they are also quite educated computer scientist people are there. So as the innovation has happened, these adversaries have also become quite advanced there, and they're using the new technologies to create a problem or to malicious kind of activity in any of the devices. As I said, these are becoming more and more software controlled there. And that's why the rise of the malicious activities happen. And these malicious activity we talk about a cyber crime or a cyber fraud. Minds are innovative. The new methods and new techniques have been evolved there. That is the scenario which current situation has happened there with the innovation in technology. Today we are in a center of the information warfare. Any day WhatsApp messages, fake message comes up, the all your channel you say it is a fake message or it's a genuine message. WhatsApp you keep on circulating in picture, you morph the picture. All information warfare is going on aspect there, and that is becoming intensive. It can be very demoralizing. Such information warfare also causes a problem in your devices because it can introduce any software script. Malware is nothing but a software script. Virus is nothing but a software script which exploits, which goes and sits and exploits the genuine system there. So it creates a demoralizing situation for all of us. In fact, people say when Ram made the half the statement, when he said fifth domain there, in fact, the cyber war has started. The fifth domain means it's a cyber war. It's now it is leading to cyber war there. Is a potential for the cyber war. That is where everyone starts it. People say the third world war has already started. You know, I mean, you are hearing the media what kind of a geopolitical issues have become up between America and Russia or the Chinese. We keep on talking about other aspects there. So there is no peace, there is no war state in the cyber and cyber. There are spate of breaches there and the spate of attacks. They're becoming a very, very important issues in today's world when we talk about the fifth domain. Now I'm talking about India. I will show some international statistics also. You look at the recent breaches in India. Almost every sector has been breached. Every sector. I've given the I mean year-wise and the month-wise figure there. You see, every sector is breached there because the systems are same. Whether you use a transport system or you use the banking financial system, they're all interconnected there. If you have a breach in the transport sector, the same breach in transport sector can cause a breach in the financial sector, and vice versa also there. Health sector, it vice versa also. If you look at the pandemic, during pandemic period, the number of incidents went up by almost 2,000%, 2,000%. That's why the number went up because we were all using the ADSL or DSL modem connectivity from home. No DSL or ADSL modem is secure. No matter whatever you use the fiber or the normal coaxial based modem, nothing is secure. Your files are not created in a secure manner. IT systems were never created to handle to traffic in the pandemic kind of a scenario. So everything is now is unable to attack because one sector and can go other sector is all becoming a very very threatening yet. Now, if you look at the result of these studies, the data was stolen, the software script was installed to collect the data personally, launch attacks from one system to another system, from one country to another country. Now, whole this data which has been stolen, which gets stored, either it is available on a dark web. You have heard it's a kind of a website, but you can dark web is nothing but other than is a website like any other website. Only thing is that you access the dark web, that website only through certain particular IP addresses or particular address or particular software. You have to do that. That's why it's a dark site. Everybody can't get it. I can't get it, though it exists on the same internet. So that data is stolen on those websites which are accessed by certain rights or certain groups. They allow the access to you, and the data is accessed by criminals. They sell the data. The whole billions of the cards you will find the details of the billions of cards or the ATM card, credit card, debit card you will find on the darknet there. That data is stolen. The data is used for doing the phishing and wishing and whatever the ATM cards or credit card frauds have happened. What you hear that someone calling in the morning, I'm a branch manager of so and so bank. Your credit card or ATM card is coming to an end. You give me a PIN and everything, 1, 2, 3, and I will extend the thing so that you don't have a problem there. That kind of a message comes up. They all look at this whole attack which I showed in the previous slide. They collect the data through that, sell it darknet or otherwise it's sold there. It's underground kind of economy. They sell it, then they analyze it and start making a call there. Whether it belongs to he or she or whatever, everything is analyzed, and this is becoming possible by the big data tools very easily. So these whole study of the recent attack will reflect one thing, that the information of the individual, your sensitive information is at risk, and it is used for a variety of purposes, causing a financial fraud, causing a threat to national security, causing a threat to your organization, or variety of purposes. And also for the positive purpose that the data is sold for testing the product. The people who are making the product, they want to sell, they want to test the product. The whole thing is that. So multiple purposes is a kind of a parallel economy, underground economy, which is going on. So as of today, the percentage 90% attacks are traditional cyber crime. Okay, when I say credit card ATM, I will take a kind of a traditional there. I will take the phishing website, is a traditional crime there, but 9% are becoming a targeted crime. I don't know how many of you know the SolarWind attack there, which happened in US in December. It was going on for the last 6 months. The entire US government was compromised. If you recall, WannaCry, Petacry, these are all targeted attacks. The Stuxnet, which talk about the Iran nuclear plant, they're all target attacks. So this 9% are the targeted attacks there, and 1% is cyber weapon. Today, it is becoming more difficult how to distinguish what is cyber weapon and what is not cyber weapon, because today we are talking about automated system made of convergence of technologies there. That's what, but the percentage of the 9% and 1% is increasing rapidly than what we can imagine. This is the nature of threat today. Now, if you look at the current global view, look at the top 10. It becomes a kind of a scenario where we start worrying, what are we doing? My idea is not to frighten any one of you, but my idea is to give you this is scenario. We need to be careful. After all, we walk on the road, which is highway. We do that. We do drive a motor vehicle. We do drive our vehicle on the highway. We need to go that. We need to use technology, but we need to be careful. These are the current kind of a global view. Now, if you look at the ransomware, Ram talked about the ransomware. WannaCry, Petacry, and if you heard recently the U.S. gas pipeline there, where the ransomware, $4 million ransomware was connected. Ransomware means it's a software script which is injected through different means, like a phishing mail. You send a mail and you ask them to click it, or you send a SMS, ask them to click it, or whatever way you do that, or through the pen drive, when you access the pen drive, any information with pen drive. When you click that link there, every information gets encrypted, and then you get a call, you get a message there. You want to decrypt it, you pay this much money. That's why the ransom. That's what thing, and these are all paid to cryptocurrencies there. If you look at the cryptocurrency things there, the larger share is accounted by either terrorism or this ransomware kind of a major share is accounted by the cryptocurrency transactions there. And that's why the governments world over are very reluctant to do that. But then there is a different issues there. But today the ransomware, look at how many ransomware. In 2021, the first quarter itself, there are 2.51 million new ransomware. Look at the magnitude we are talking about it. Now, these ransomware does not distinguish whether you are a transport sector or a medical sector or a financial sector. They don't distinguish anything. Information gets encrypted. WannaCry was used as much in the banking system as much as was used in the transportation system. Whole one of the transport terminal in the Jawaharlal Shiva port was locked down there by the ransomware at that WannaCry there. So this menace is becoming more and more vibrant and more dynamic as we move on the technology. Now, if you look at the ransomware detection per week, you can see these are the figure, not my figure. These are the figure published by the McAfee in the recent report. I have taken the report from there, and these are the figure. You see how many weekly there new ransomware are coming up and what ransomware detected. That tells you that mind-boggling kind of a thing which I said in the morning in the beginning. Now, there are the organized threat actors, like the physical terrorists are there. There are organized kind of a group in the cyber world also, which carries out the attack, which develop the software kind of a thing we call a malware, develop the malware, and they carry out the attacks. We call it advanced persistent threat vectors there. That's what they are given. They are not called terrorists like the physical world. They are called advanced persistent threat vectors there. Now, I mean, so many six. The threat vectors are operating in multiple locations in different countries there, and these are the South Asia I'm talking about because we are in South Asia. These are the threat vectors they carry out. These are a very complex vector. It's a vector is the mathematical term. It does in a multiple directions there. And whatever the chart I showed, attacks 2021, they're all part of the APTs carried out a different function. These are the APT groups. These are the threat vectors which are targeting in India. I'm not differentiating between one sector. They're all targeting multiple in different kind of a in scenario, different economic sector, including financial frauds, including all kinds of things there. So the some of these software are when you talk about a targeted attacks, we tune them to the particular sector, and so in the case of financial sector. I can tell you one incident. Now it is open there, public. I can share it with you. I don't know how many of you heard. $171 million was taken away from one of our bank in India in 2017 there. So we recovered that entire amount. Prior to that, there was an attempt to take $100 million from a central bank in Bangladesh, where the money went only about $1 million. Rest of the money they could recover. They could not take away, the terrorist actor could not take away that amount. Similarly, we also recovered the entire $171 million. Those kind of a software script or the viruses, we call viruses or malware, software script, were targeted for the banking kind of a financial frauds there. The software script they found, they checked the entire computer systems or the IT infrastructure of a particular organization in this bank, whether Central Bank of Bangladesh or India. The bank in India. They found which is weakness and where you can enter. It happens like any kind of a physical system where someone goes around the premises and looks at it, which is the weak point. A thief goes around the premises and looks at it, which is the weak point to enter into the building and the premises. So the case is the IT infrastructure. So in case of India, the particular bank, someone found a weakness in a system which was easily exploitable, not manned there. It's somewhere in the one city of the northern India, which is in Punjab. Entered through that, went to the data center, and from data center you went to the foreign exchange branch at Nariman Point and transferred the data. What time it kept on sitting, watching the entire activity, which is a major transaction account are there. And it watched for 6 months, and then the whole entire data were transferred during 7 o'clock when there was a banking hour was over there. Same is the case with central bank in Bangladesh also. The entire operation started when there was a Friday, because in Muslim country, Friday is a holiday there. Saturday is a holiday there. They work on Sundays there. So they transfer it so that there is no reporting there. All printer, Bangladesh happens in the printer there, and the whole scenario changed. They took out the money. So this is all intelligently done through the software script. The studies is any cyber attack or any fraud happens. It takes whether financial or non-financial. the hacker or the adversary is sitting there for couple of months, ranging from 4 to 6 months, studying your behavior, studying your pattern. He is not interested in 10 rupees or 100 rupees or 1000 rupees. He is a larger amount there. He kept on sitting there. Once it is entered there. So, I mean, these are the groups which are becoming complex, and these are the furniture group attribution largely in the worldwide, which we see. What activity do that? These are specialized, targeted financial groups are there. What activity they do that, and how they carry out the activity. These are all financial attribution. They do that. Now, I said when we produce a software or any device, nothing is 100% secure. There are some vulnerabilities. Whosoever determines the vulnerability for the first time, that vulnerability is called a zero-day vulnerability. Now look at how these actors are distributed, finding the zero-day vulnerabilities there. Zero-day vulnerability is found, then you take some time to find a solution or address that vulnerability. By the time lot of things has happened, and most of the larger frauds which happen, financial frauds or non-financial fraud, it happens to the zero-day vulnerabilities. That is what the scenario which happens there. Now look at the chart. This is there are different countries there, different colors are there. The colors are there just to show the boundaries of the country. But when you look at the cyber, there is no boundary. All adversaries, all the hackers, all the perpetrators, they come together from different parts of the world and attack. They work together, they attack it. The word is same. But this it becomes how do you address, because you stop one, the second one comes up, and the scenario is there that you see the gap between the protection and the attack, these breaches is increasing. So that means protecting your devices, protecting your infrastructure, protecting your transaction is becoming more and more difficult, and with the innovation in technology the gap is increasing there. What is the need of the hour? Need of the hour is that now in the financial frauds, people say, and I am sure IMAI, our Sandeep is there, that they're trying to promote crypto. Every country is trying to promote crypto. So crypto gives you a better authentication. No doubt about it. Better authentication because they are distributed authentication. But when you talk about the cyber security breaches, same breaches happen in the crypto system also there. That's why people say, whatever technology you bring it, and that's why I said it, whatever technology you bring it, it will be controlled now and being controlled by the software. And wherever there is a software, there are issues, there can be breach there. Wherever there are software, it can be breached there. What is the need of the hour? We need to be very, very careful. One is that the task which or the work which the Pursuit 2021 or the IMA is doing it, create more awareness, create more kind of create the education, enhance the education level. So we need to understand what all can happen there, what all can happen with our devices there. We need to promote those kind of a practices, what we need to do. We have a body called a CERT, we have a National Critical Information Protection Center. They all deal with such kind of a reactive process and the proactive process. If you go to the CERT side, they give you all kind of a precautions you need to take, whether it's a user or a professional body or professional organization. NCIBC will give you what all step is to be needed when you deal with the critical sector or sensitive sector. They all deal with a separate issue, but they provide every information. Go to their website, you find that. You report the incident, they try to tell other organizations or entities in the country, look, such and such thing happened, better be careful. This is software, is vulnerability has been found, better you try to get that vulnerability back or address that vulnerability. They try to get information from elsewhere, from other countries, and try to pass it over to their website. So there are certain things which we as a common person we need to be very, very careful, because we are dealing with a complex technology, convergence of technology put assembled in one device, whether it's a small phone or a Fitbit or Apple Watch or some other electronic watch. The first principle is that if The banks will never ask you the information. They keep on sending them SMS there. They will never ask you any detail of your account on your phone or through the email. They will never ask you. They will say visit the bank. That's what they will say that. And if anyone asks you, just stop it. Don't provide any information to them about your account. Don't provide any of your name there. That's one part. Now I will tell you one incident of myself. In 2017, I was invited by the National Consumer Forum, headed by that time Justice D.K. Jain, who was the Supreme Court judge, to deliver a talk the way I'm talking about here. It was organized by Ministry of Consumer Affairs there. The Justice Jain, who was the heading of the commission after superannuation from Supreme Court, he asked me that we are getting so many cases in the fraud, ATM fraud or credit fraud. How do you check? How do you address it? And what do you do? You are a cybersecurity chief. Tell me, what do you do? I innocently told them a practical solution which I follow there. And I tell you now also. I do perform internet activities. I do perform internet transactions there. But I follow all precautions. I have opened a separate account where I keep small balance and do the internet operation from that account. I don't kind of risk my main account there, where maybe a slightly larger amount may be there. So I limit my risk up to 25,000-30,000 rupees, which I can afford to do that, and banks also will try to reimburse if I have not made a mistake there, if I have not given the password to them. But it became a furrow. The Parliament committee called me and say, why you are not doing the transaction, you are not promoting internet transactions there, you are doing something again. But then this is a preventive step. We do the internet transaction, but see the risk what you are there. By mistake you share the password, or by mistake the bank systems are compromised, your liability is limited there. If your account is not internet operated there, no one from internet can access it, or no one can take out the money from there. I followed that system, and I still follow the system there. So while there is a all thing that don't pass over the passwords, don't give your account number, don't give the information, but we need to look at the different innovative methods to prevent any kind of a risk to us, and we need to implement the techniques vis-a-vis the risk which we have for what information assets we have. That is what we need to look at it, whether it's an individual or smaller organization or a larger organization. We need to look at the risk and implement our security things there. If you look at the bank, they have implemented different Basel function, all kind of things.
Excuse me,
But
sir.
I'll just take a minute. Ultimately, the three things are important there. One is that we need to have the processes correct there. We need to have a implement technology, like for a common man, antivirus or firewalls or all kind of thing. And with the people, whether it's a short term, medium, or long term. This is what we need to do that. Friends, things are becoming more and more complex and more challenging there. Precautions, carefulness is one of the key answer which I would like to pass it over to you. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity and listening me patiently. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roy. It was really, really comprehensive, and I apologize for intervening in between. Just to wrap up, because since we are running out of time, the two important areas that I noticed from your presentation is one is the virtualization of everything, and that is very, very important. And second, given that there is a convergence of technology, there is a convergence of the government actors or from security actors to come together to face any such challenges. So with that, I once again thank you very much for this comprehensive keynote address filled with all data points. I only wish that we had time to take up more questions, but maybe some other time we will do that. But on behalf of IAMAI, and I would like to thank you once again for your time and for your valuable inputs. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Roy, and thank you, Ram, for a very insightful discussion on cyber risks that we face in the 21st century. To close this keynote discussion, I would like to thank our session partner, Refinitiv, Gold Partners, Ria Keta, Netherlands Embassy, Cyber Sprint, Bronze Partner on FIDO, and Knowledge Partner EY for making this happen. Thank you, everyone. And delegates, please look forward to the other, more upcoming sessions at Pursue 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. But
Thank
Ram,
you.
you could have asked one question to me.
Time is up, so sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry I took a little time, but I went in the flow. That's all. Thank you.
No problem. Sir. Thank you.